Hey guys, welcome to the Georgia Show where we talk about everyday life things. My name is Joe and I'm glad you're here. Today I want to talk real quick about just something I saw this weekend and I thought I don't think there's a right or wrong way to approach it, but I think it does deserve to be talked about a little bit. So before we go into it, I still want to say thank you to everybody who watches every video that I make, and those who are liking the channel, those who are adding comments, please continue to do so, and let's talk about stuff even after the video is made. Anyway, so we're heading into this very dangerous territory as a society lately where we've lost tolerance for indifference, we've lost tolerance for difference of opinions, and where it no longer just works to have a different opinion from the next person. And I think the quickness that is there to dismiss somebody just because you don't agree with them, I think it is going to make our lives as a society very difficult in the future, just because of how we are embracing it now. While it seems very benign and safe, I think this as just taking this as a normal way of life, and if we keep going with this, it's gonna become a real problem down the road. So I watched the Netflix special this weekend, and I think I saw where Dave's coming from, and he actually tried in a very, kind of like smart way, using humor and trying to make a point, trying to express himself why he actually is not the enemy that he's talked about, or he was trying to show that he's more of an ally than an enemy. He's actually trying to make peace, and as a comedian, he used humor, and at some point he'll push the line, but that's what comedians do. And I'm not here to defend him for that. I just want to make some points where I'm trying to say the response to things like that, especially in his case, is not the extreme response of, okay, we're done with him, throw him out, that's the end of it. But I think when someone has a difference in opinion, and whether it's out of ignorance, out of just plain being spiteful or misunderstanding, the first attempt should be to have dialogue, try to understand it. And if they don't see your point, I think it's normal for people to have different sort of opinions. Some people are always going to be wrong, and you cannot force them to be right. But the response in that is not to say, if we don't see eye to eye, if you don't agree with what I'm trying to say, that you're out of here. But instead, just get away from that, step away from them, because then continuing to make a big fuss about it, all it does is it empowers this person, because you have two factions, and those people who would support the opposite side, they just continue. It brings attention to them. It helps people actually start to see, people who didn't even know this was going on are made aware. And you're always going to have two sides in everything. Every coin has two sides, and you can't fully alienate one person over the other. I also think that pushing this narrative and saying, if we don't agree with you, you have to go, we have to let you go, all it does, it forces people to no longer be genuine. Because if I'm afraid that if I have to say something that you fully disagree with, the consequence is really severe, I get cancelled, or I'm no longer relevant, then it'll force me to no longer be genuine, to try to hide who I am and how I approach things, just to remain safe that way. And I think that's just problematic. The way the society is going now, you start to see where just out of popular culture, we start to accept things which at one point used to be wrong, and now they're right. And whatever used to be up is down, and we're going into this just new way of life, which is very unusual and is new to us. And some people will refuse to move on with it, and they're going to hold on to the old ways, and others will try the new ways, and then the others who just will keep to themselves. And if this continues and if we continue empowering people to just through society's, it's not really mob justice, but through the society just deciding who they like and who they don't like just based on agreement and disagreement, I think over time, as people change, as the society changes, and as just the way we as a civilization is, we are going to find ourselves back into a corner that is managed by just a very small but powerful few, and that's not the way things ought to be. So, for example, he say gender is fact, and I think that it's true. It's you can change that, but you can apply. You can approach it differently. It doesn't mean that you've changed it. It's just like the Impossible Burger is still a burger, but is it a flesh burger or is it just a fresh burger that you like? And are we going to have a huge discussion about it? And is someone going to have, face some sort of negative repercussions just because they don't agree that, or they challenge that fact? I think it shouldn't. Instead, we should tolerate each other, and if you like that and I don't, or vice versa, then have your way and go about your way and go about your merry life. But I think in life today there are way more serious things that we should be addressing, and more serious if we're going to start applying this kind of powerful social justice on people who deserve it. There are people who deserve it, really. If you think about it, last year, when one of us was killed and we were out here trying to draw attention to it and marching and protesting and all these things, the response was really like, it was hard. I mean, the way it was responded to, there was a lot of negative talk and people saying a lot of stuff. People got arrested, people, got injured permanently, some. And if you think about that, and you think about people who felt that, elections could have gone differently and they had something to say, and they went to like the most, or you would think one of the most protected spaces in the country, and they tore through that and they just made this huge mockery of it. The way things were treated there is very, very different. Those two responses were very different, and I think we should be looking at that. If we're going to address something as a society, find out why is there a difference there, and why can't people be treated the same when they're not exactly the same, but when you start and you're going down the same road and saying we're trying to protest and bring attention to something, then how is it that the response is different? Or how is it that you can kill somebody and the attempt to bring you to justice for that is an uphill task, but at the same time, you break into secure government facilities, you threaten the lives of elected officials, and you get a misdemeanor. I don't think things like that are just fair to work. And I think that's what Dave was saying. His problem is really not about people's lifestyle and how you want to see yourself or perceive yourself. He still says his problem is about white people and black people, and that's what he's been about since when he was doing the Chappelle show. And so I think when people refuse to see that, and people take whatever is going on and you apply or you approach that and say, I'm going to take this moment and use it to push a different narrative, and you don't listen fully. Instead, you just want to use this as a platform because there's going to be some response and it will help carry a message forward. I think that's problematic, and that's what I'm saying. We focus on the wrong things. If we need to cancel somebody, I think we cancel the people who are in Washington and find out how is it that you promise to do one thing for the people and then you get up there and you forget your promises, and instead you're out there just trying to take care of yourself or make yourself rich or whatever it is. I think that's the problem, and that's what we should be addressing, not trying to make trying to force somebody see your way, and well, they do not, And while they respectfully say why they do not, then you turn it into this big deal about it. I mean, at the end, when he was wrapping up his special, he spent a good amount of time just talking about his friend who he actually understood what they were going through, and he talked about her and what he has done for her and how much he is invested in just making sure that she knew that he understood her and he understood what she was going through and having this experience in her life. And I think that's what it's about. You see somebody for who they are and you try to let them know that you hear them or you understand them and you give them that space to be themselves. And when you do not, or when you do not understand it, then you attempt to find out what can I do to understand you? What can I do for us to coexist together? And if there is no way where our two walls can come together, then it's okay for us to live separately. We don't have to interact. But I think deciding that if we don't agree with each other, then that's the end of it. You're no longer relevant. We don't want you around. I think that's problematic. So, the man said he's going to take a break anyway, but he's taking a break because he is not, and he said he wants to have dialogue. He wants to talk about it and say, how can we fix this? Because we need to fix it as we, regular people, and then deal with our bigger problem. And our big problem is not with Dave and what he was saying, but I think, we know what our problems are, and we just need to solve those problems so that people are treated as humans, real humans. It doesn't matter your background, it doesn't matter where you came from, it doesn't matter what you look like, but we need to see each other as, we're all human together. And if we start there, then and we start to address that and find ways to work together that way, then we can empower each other, and then we can go after those people who really are taking us for a ride.